For some of you, this might be more of a challenge, but I'd like you to, for a moment, to think back to your first summer job. Do you remember what it was? Do you have a summer job? Not yet. Just wait. Anybody, first summer job? What was it? Yeah.
Burger King.
Burger King. Did you like it?
Hated it.
Hated it.
Lifeguard.
Lifeguard. You probably like that, right? Love that, yeah.
Big squash on the farm upstate.
Hated it, right? Hated it, yeah. Anybody else? Newspaper. Hated it too. What? Lingerie factory, Angela. Wow. How many kids do you have?
No, we didn't get any discounts.
Oh, no discounts, okay. Well, my first summer job involved a couple things. It involved big work gloves, boots, and a hoe. My first summer job in Buffalo Center, Iowa, and north central Iowa was to walk soybean fields and take a hoe and chop them out. Or, of course, some weeds are stronger, and if they're too strong, you gotta go down, and pull them up. In the hot, hot summer sun. And the reason why we had to do that, you probably don't know much about soybeans, do you?
No.
Unlike corn, that when you go and collect the corn, and you can just get the corn, but with soybeans, when they go to get the soybeans, it takes everything, and it's hard to separate the weeds from the soybeans. And so the only way of doing that is in the summer going out and manually taking out the bad weeds. It was horrible work.
That's why we have a priest.
It is why I became a priest. But, it was hard work, but it was very accurate work. Because when you're walking, great exercise too, but when you're walking up and down those rows, you can pull, the best weeds and you get them out. That was the first year. But then the second year, there was a modern invention, which some of you probably have used, industrial strength Roundup. And so what happened is the farmers would put big bars in front of their tractor. And on those bars would be anywhere between 4 to 6 seats with umbrellas, so you were, at least you had some shade. And you would have a gun or a wand that was had a tube attached to a big tank of industrial strength Roundup. And the farmer would drive along the rows, and what you would do is you would take the gun and shoot the weeds. Very effective, but it was also inaccurate a lot of times, because if you're driving along, guess what? You're going to miss. And so instead of killing just the weed, you would also kill some of the soybean plants. It was also very dangerous, because Roundup, industrial strength, can cause cancer. And one of the people that I actually was on the buggy, we call it the buggy with, died of cancer about 10 years ago because of the Roundup. What do? Do you take the quick way that might cause a lot of collateral damage? Or do you take the hard way, which is much more accurate? Now, I don't know about you, but I like things to be done quick. I don't have much patience. I like to have something to be done right away. If I get interrupted in the day, if something could take 5 minutes, I'll do it right away to get it done. It's very hard sometimes to have the long range thinking about that. You know what I'm talking about. Come on. You need to lose some weight. So what do? You go, oh, Dr. Oz says to take that Gardasil, whatever. I tried it. It doesn't work. You do everything to try to cut corners. You work in the city, so what do? You have to take the train. You go to your spot on the train, so you save a couple minutes later on. You try to take a shortcut to get home. We like things fast. You don't want to have to wait. Don't you hate if you go to a restaurant and you have to wait for like 45 minutes for your dinner to come out? Jesus knew that about us. He knew that we like things right away. We like instant fixes. We're not patient people, generally. And so today we hear, once again, one of Jesus' stories to make a point, his parables. And again, he's talking about agriculture, but this time I think you can get it. Anybody who is a gardener knows about weeds, right? And he tells the story about the sower, the Son of Man, who goes out and tosses good seed. And from the good seed, the evil one comes along and plants weeds, bad weeds, that can choke the wheat. And of course, the point is really that in the end day, Jesus is going to go and separate the good from the bad. You get the Matthew weeping and gnashing of teeth. But I'm going to let God worry about that. I think there's another message in this gospel that you and I need to hear. And that is, what are the weeds that are choking us from God? What are the weeds that are sucking every single ounce of life from you and me? Those weeds that are like the Dementors in Harry Potter that suck all the good life out of you. Anything that's good. We all have these weeds that are preventing us from living the life that God is asking each and every one of us to live. And those weeds will be different for each and every one of us. For some of us, it might be addictions. Alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex. But there's other types of addictions too. Food, chocolate. What about being addicted to hating yourself? Putting yourself down? Or maybe raising yourself up to think you're better than everybody else? Maybe you have the addiction of pride. Maybe you have the addiction of being prejudiced. We all have our things, these weeds, that are literally choking us alive. But how do we get rid of them? I mean, it could be easy to just go and, get on that buggy and take Roundup and just spray it and say, okay, that's it. Wouldn't that be great if you could just literally say, the weeds that are choking you, you can just say, okay, no more. But anytime I try to break something that's bad in my life, a habit, you got to have the long-range picture in mind. You can't just go one day and say, I'm no longer going to do this, because before you know it, you're back doing the same old thing. You have to think like the bad baseball teams. like the Cleveland Indians, the New York Mets. No, you got to think like them. They're always about looking for the long range. And the first thing you have to do is what anybody in 12 steps know. You have to at least, first of all, acknowledge what is strangling you and realize you are helpless to take care of it on your own, and trust God to be part of the process of doing the weeding for you. You see, the hope that Paul was talking about in his letter to the Romans is that we have hope that the one who came for you and for me will help us to get rid of those weeds that are preventing us from serving him. We don't need to go and have a quick self-help book. You're not going to go and have hypnosis to be taken care of right away. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's a long process that's involved. It's hard work. But when you take the long road, when you allow Jesus to come in and help you to weed out those things in your life, in the end, you are going to be producing the best harvest for God. And you will be a better person for it. You know, this is most effective. And we might not have a hoe in our hands, but we have a better weapon, and that is Jesus Christ himself, who is asking each and every one of us every day to acknowledge those things which are preventing us from serving him and loving others. I don't expect any one of us today to be able to immediately get rid of those weeds of our life. But I'd like to ask you, and I'm asking myself this question. What are your weeds? What are your weeds? Acknowledge them today. Bring them to the altar of Christ. Be filled with his body and blood, and leave here in hope that in the long run, by acknowledging those weeds, you will be given the skills necessary to start the process of weeding your own life. You know, I'm sort of grateful, I guess, that I had that experience. I'm glad I didn't get cancer. But I'm also glad I learned a bit about weeding. I guess I have some weeding to do. And you might too. Amen.
Amen.